Hello ladies and gentlemen, MarauderEX here with kind of an interesting discussion video. Yeah, the other day we got a Pokemon Direct, a Nintendo Direct focusing on Pokemon, where everyone was expecting Pokemon Stars, the main line franchise, or main franchise entry Pokemon title that's going to come out for the Switch, that everyone's been very adamant about since seeing some trademark information. And we didn't get that. We got an announcement of new 3DS games based off of Sun and Moon, alternate universe Sun and Moon type thing. And then we also got information on Pokken Tournament DX. Pokken? I think Pokken. I don't know. The Pokemon Tekken Tournament Fighter type game is coming to the Switch, and it released on the Wii U, and it's getting some upgrades, and this has got a lot of people discussing this. And I've been talking to friends, I've been talking to other game collectors and owners, and people all across the board, really. There's been a lot of discussion about this, about the Wii U titles migrating to the Switch. And so I kind of wanted to talk about it, because I've got some thoughts that I basically just want to throw at a wall and see what sticks, you know? So at this point we've got several games on the Wii U that are making their way over to the Switch in some way, shape, or form. We've got the Pokken Tournament, we've got Mario Kart 8 and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Switch. We've got Splatoon and Splatoon 2 coming out. Which Splatoon 2 is kind of a weird middle ground, because it is technically a sequel. It's not just a remake of the original game. The problem is, I don't know how much new content it is, but I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt that they are listing it as a sequel, so it's not basically Mario Kart 8 or Pokken Tournament that's getting a slight revamp for the Switch. But it's raised some questions for me of, as a collector, would I have multiple copies of the same game? Well, each collector is going to kind of tell you a different answer. Some collectors go only for sealed games. Some collectors only go for very specific games. Some only go for specific systems. Some go for specific franchises, and they will buy any re-release of that franchise. I know a couple of people who are head over heels for the Legend of Zelda series, and they have the same game purchased multiple times for multiple platforms, and for different releases. They'll have the original release, and if it gets a greatest hits, they'll pick that up as well. So it's a little unfair to say should I, but it's one of those things that I personally have been thinking about. I've been wondering how to go about this. I have in my collection, in my collecting terms, I only collect games that I think I will either enjoy, or there will be some sort of entertainment value, either good or bad. You know, I have picked up a couple of just really terrible games simply because I know I'm going to have fun goofing off with them, like the Burger King games on the Xbox 360, for example, like the Sneak King and the Bumper Car. Those games, for example. Not the best games on the planet, but because I enjoyed playing them, because I knew, like, they were just beyond silly. I knew I'd pick them up. So, but my problem now is, I have a Wii U, and I've enjoyed my Wii U. I've enjoyed the games that I have on it. I have a very specific selection of games, and I don't think I'm going to be getting any, like, there are other games for the Wii U that I don't have, but I doubt I'll be picking those up. I'm pretty sure I am content with my Wii U collection as it is. I think that's what I've got, and I can probably post a list in the video description so you all can see what I've got and where I'm coming from with this. But I just experienced this problem with the Switch, but not with the Wii U. Disgaea 5. I had Disgaea 5 on the PS4. I picked it up when it went on sale, when one of my local retailers was getting ready to stop carrying it. I believe it was Target. I don't remember specifically, but I know It was a fairly niche game that I might be able to find at like a GameStop, or I'd definitely be able to find online, but because they wanted to clear out shelf space, it was on sale. It wasn't on sale for a ridiculous amount, but it was enough to justify picking it up then and there. So I did. And then Disgaea 5 Complete was announced for the Switch. And I bought it in a heartbeat. I pre-ordered it directly from NIS. I got the collector's edition from them. Part of it is because I got the collector's edition. I need to find out if there was a collector's edition for PS4. I know by the time I had picked up a PS4, the game had already been out for a while, so I may have missed that collector's edition. But like, hey, a collector's edition of a strategy RPG, this is me. This screams me. But another reason why I wanted it again was on the Switch for the portability factor. If I go to a friend's house and I want to keep grinding while, hanging out, talking to friends, or going on a trip, going on vacation, something, I can still take the game and play it. I'm not restricted to playing it in my game room, on my TV, on my console. Like, I could take the console with me, but then you've got to, if you're going to a friend's house, you've either got to hook up to their TV, or you have to have some way of getting a video signal out, which can be kind of a pain at times. Or you could go like completely hardcore and be like Ben Heck and build a laptop suitcase type device and takes all of the console innards and minimizes the space and puts a screen there so it's all one convenient package, like the old screen, LCD screen for like the GameCube or PS1. Or going even the more hardcore route of having people try to cut down the board size as much as possible and make a custom handheld for it. I've seen consoles like I've seen custom handheld Dreamcasts, GameCubes, all sorts of things. But it's different with the console versus the handheld, and the Switch gives those options. So I had no qualms about buying the game again, not realizing that it was something that was probably going to happen more often than I was anticipating. Because, as it seems, Nintendo... The only way I can really describe it is Nintendo seems like they are trying to get as much return investment on the Wii U as possible. These games that they developed and put a great deal of time and effort into to have a fantastic quality product. Nintendo never really puts out... I shouldn't say never really puts out low-quality games, but rarely do they put out low-quality games, especially for their consoles. So the games that were developed for the Wii U, not having a huge install base, probably didn't see a lot of the returns that they were really hoping for. And part of that is due to the console itself. Well, the Switch has an amazing install base right off the bat. It's looking to surpass numbers in its first year that the Wii U did almost its lifetime, from what I've heard other YouTubers discuss, and I've seen a lot of the sales predictions. So it's entirely possible that the Switch install base is going to be a factor, larger than the Wii U could have hoped to have been. And since they still have these games, that some of them can be reworked to function on the Switch, that they can try to get that return investment on again. So they can, it doesn't seem like it takes a great deal of time, depending on what they decide to add to it. They haven't just done a straight Wii U to Switch title, other than Breath of the Wild. But that also is kind of a weird, arguable gray area, depending on development cycles and whatnot. But I don't know. I'm not going to get into that can of worms. But depending on what they want to do with it, Mario Kart 8 had a new mode, new items, some new bells and whistles, plus the DLC from the original game. So it adds a fair bit of purchase power for people who haven't already bought the game. But for people who have already bought the game, it's a little frustrating, because for example, one of the games rumored to come out for the Switch is Super Smash Bros. And a lot of the leaks that have come out, a lot of them have been disproven or at least taken with a very heavy grain of salt, is that they are going to basically take Smash Bros. For the Wii U and 3DS, combine those two games, and have all of the content that was split between console and handheld, and then all the DLC applied to this new game. So things like, people are hoping for Smash Run, like a multiplayer Smash Run for local or online co-op for Smash Run, which arguably I found Smash Run way more entertaining than the Smash board game on the Wii U, which just seemed like complete and utter random chaos. I never felt like anything I did made any sort of difference in that game. But Smash Run, I thought, was amazing. It's got all of these characters from all the franchises that are being represented. It was just really entertaining to go around as Marth or Shulk or Little Mac beating up on the egg robots from Sonic 3, or the ghost things from Dig Dug that, you explode. That entertained me to no extent, and I loved having to collect the power-ups and the items and do the challenge rooms. It was unique, and so having that on the console / portable experience of the Switch, I would love to buy, but I have spent a fair bit of money on the DLC for Smash Brothers, so I've bought the game as well as the additional content. And now there's a good chance, if this game does come out, I will have to buy the game again at its initial launching price again. So I'm buying the same game twice, plus I'm out whatever I've spent on the DLC. Now, me personally, I don't have too much of a problem with that, because I see the games as a dollar to time frame investment of entertainment. Like, you can go, I've had a discussion with Luth about this not too long ago, actually. We talked about it. It's like, you can go to the movies and see a 2.5 hour movie, and depending on what time you go, you could spend close to $20 on a 2.5 hour experience. If you get, if you have to go in the evening, you don't get a matinee price. If you decide to get any sort of snacks, especially at the theater, the concessions are so expensive. So that's $20 for 2 to 2.5 hours, depending on the movie. So spending $60 on something that you get more than, if you're keeping everything, everything extrapolates at the same rate, $60 for, 6 to 9 hours, that's not a bad deal in that scheme of things. If you look at it from that perspective, it's not a terrible, $60 for 9 hours, it's not a great deal, but it's not terrible. And a lot of games, especially Smash Brothers, I know I've put more than 9 hours worth of effort into. I know I've probably put closer to, 40, 60 hours, depending on the game. So, spending $60 on something I'm spending, 60 hours on, that's $1, $1 an hour. It's not a bad investment to me for the enjoyment purpose. But I know that I'm not the average gamer in that sense. I know there are a lot of people, and I understand the arguments of, having to buy the game again, and that's where I'm kind of torn of buying the game again. And then I have the problem of, I have 2 copies of the game, essentially. In these cases, Disgaea, again, I have a copy of Disgaea 5 on the PS4, and I've got a copy of Disgaea 5 on the Switch. At this point, I'm probably never going to play the PS4 version, other than the amount of time it would take to, record a comparison to see what it's like comparing the Switch version to the PS4 version. But I'd probably never set through and play the entire PS4 version of the game, because it would be so much easier to play it on the Switch due to the Switch's flexibility. And then Mario Kart 8. I have 2 copies of that. I have the deluxe. Well, I don't have the deluxe edition yet, but I am going to be picking up the deluxe edition, Mario Kart Deluxe. and I'll have the Wii U version. Well, why? I'm probably never going to play the Wii U version over the Switch version because of the flexibility. So why would I keep the Wii U version? Well, I already have it, and part of me as a collector feels really bad about getting rid of games. Like, I used to do that as a kid. I saw how much money I lost on it. Like, I saw how much I lost on trade-ins for things. And I know I've told the story about Valkyrie Profile multiple times. For those of you who haven't heard it, the TLDR of it is, I had Valkyrie Profile, I traded it in for some crap game, and then years later when I wanted to go back and replay it, the price for the game had gone substantially higher because it was a great game on the PS1, and the PS1 was at that point discontinued, so these games were no longer being made. So the stock that was available was all that was going to be available, so people didn't want to let go of it, and the price of the game skyrocketed. I bought it. I don't remember how much I bought it for, but I remember I traded it in for around $20 toward another game. And I regret that because when I rebought it, I spent closer to $80 on it. So again, spending money versus, the cost versus the entertainment value. But it's one of those lessons that I learned very hard that's probably not the best route for me. Now, I know a lot of gamers who do trade in games because they've gotten all the enjoyment out of it that they feel that they're going to get. Nothing wrong with that. That's not me. And I know a lot of gamers who actually do it really smart and, wait for like promotions and trade-in deals and things like that toward the things that they're after, so that they can maximize how much money they get back from it. So they don't feel that they're spending as much on the entertainment as I am buying it and keeping it for this full price. They see it as basically a form of credit, which, depending on the person, I've seen people, when I was working in retail, that they never actually spent money on games. They were just able to buy games and trade them in at the best times to get what they wanted that was coming out, or get something else that was out, or yeah. So I mean, there are people out there who are that savvy with the system. So, but like I said, I have a hard time getting these thoughts to stick for me. And so, like I said, I kind of wanted to throw them all at you. What do you think about this situation? For those of you who have a Wii U and a Switch, how reluctant or not are you to buy these games again? Do you have Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U? Have you picked up Mario Kart 8 Deluxe? Pokken Tournament, are you going to pick up that? Did you pick it up on the Wii U? It's one of those things that I'm legitimately curious about, to get more perspective on it, because I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it, and I'm torn on several different possibilities, I guess is the way to look at it. Like, I could keep the games just to say I have the actual Wii U version, and I have a Wii U library, even though it's a game that I'm probably never going to play on that system, when there's another system that has a better ease of use or better flexibility for me to play. Or should I get rid of it in favor of that one, so that I don't have space is also a commodity that I'm running out of on my game shelf. So it's one of those things, like, what's worth it is basically what I'm asking. What is worth it? And it's not going to be an answer that's going to be universal. It's not going to be an answer, well, this is what I feel, so that's the truth. This is like the definition of just an individual opinion. There are going to be so many people that I think are going to comment on this that are going to have varying opinions on it, and I don't want anyone to get into an argument about what's right or what's right or wrong in this case, because it's going to be like that for everyone. There's going to be an opinion you may not necessarily agree with, but for that person, it's the best course of action. Like I said, I consider myself a collector, not a hardcore collector, but I consider myself a game collector, and I, for the life of me, don't understand the concept of collecting sealed-only games, because how are you going to play them? Either you buy 2 copies and leave one sealed for the value of the sealed game, or you just never get to play it. At least not on the original hardware. You have to resort to emulating or something else. So, I mean, like, I don't understand that particular mindset. That doesn't mean I'm going to sit here and say people who collect only sealed-only games are idiots or anything like that. Far from it. Because I understand everyone has a very differing opinion on that. So, I just want to know everyone else's thoughts on this. You have a Wii U, you have a Switch. Would you be willing to buy the games again for the minor upgrades that happen for the games? Or is it fine skipping over the Switch version for the fact that you already have the game, but you may be missing out on some new content or the ability to play on the go as the Switch provides? Or I'm sure this has probably happened for other consoles that have backwards compatibility as well. Except I don't know. Backwards compatibility kind of negates that, really. Because if you can play it on the older system, it's the game itself isn't the issue, it's the console. So this is really... I feel like this is new territory that's starting to crop up because backwards compatibility is not as major of a focus in console development cycles these days. There've actually been a couple of articles being posted about a Sony exec saying that backwards compatibility is pointless because look at all these old games. Why would you play these old crappy games? And that sentiment kind of just makes me facepalm because some of the games there are a great deal of older games that I truly love, even though the graphics are not what people would consider up to snuff. And look at my channel. I Let's Play most of those games, if we're being completely honest. So I don't agree with that mindset, but I do understand that a lot of the sources that were cited that a lot of gamers don't necessarily use the backwards compatibility functions. If they get a newer console, it's for the newer games. A lot of gamers will either keep the older consoles for the older games, or they will trade in to, I guess, upgrade for the next console cycle. So it's a very different mindset. But now that we're starting to see the generations bleed over, even without backwards compatibility, it's bringing up this type of mindset that I'm honestly very confused by. I don't know. Like, should I just rebuy all of my Wii U games on the Switch that get re-released and get rid of the Wii U versions to make space? Or is it worth having both versions for, some sort of collector's sake or, the original hardware's sake? It's hard to say. And like I said, I'm very, very back and forth. I'm very torn about it. So I really just want to hear all of your thoughts about it. So let me know in the comment section about your thoughts on the backwards compatibility between console generations that aren't necessarily backwards compatible. Like I said, it mostly seems related to the Switch versus the Wii U, but it's something that could very well pop up in other the other consoles of this generation, because the PS4 is not backwards compatible with physical games, because the Xbox One is not as compatible. It does have some backwards compatibility. That is a feature they are throwing in. But if there was a PS3 game that got re-released on PS4 with some extra content, and we're seeing it's been something that's happened for a while with like HD remakes. We're seeing Final Fantasy XII, The Zodiac Age, remake of a PS2 game. There's been enough time, and there's more than enough content that's being added to that game to justify calling it a new game. But the games from the last console cycle that may have just ended, at least in Nintendo's case, it raises some questions. So it's definitely changing a lot of mindsets, and I don't know where it's going to go from here. So anyway, enough with the rambling. Like I said, I'd love to hear your comments about all of this in the comment section below. And those of you who have been supporting the channel with the liking, the commenting, the favoriting, the subscribing, the supporting me on Patreon, all of that jazz, you all have my eternal thanks for that, because all of that helps me make the channel a bigger, better place with better content and more of this ridiculous rambling in the grand scheme of it. So I want to thank all of you who are able to support, even if it's just, sharing the video link with a friend. The views help, the liking helps, the comments help. And to the new subscribers, thank you and welcome to the channel. And to those who are able to support through Patreon, that is probably the biggest help I could get. So thank you all for that. So yeah, if you haven't checked out the Patreon, please do. I do have a varying list of tiers and rewards. So it's a thing. So yeah, but I'm going to go. I cannot wait to hear your responses, your comments, your thoughts, because this is it's a topic that I feel like I should have an opinion on, but I don't, and I don't know where to go with it. So I want to hear everyone else's opinions to see if I can try to form my own and try to figure out what the best course of action for me would be. So again, thank you all for your support, thank you all for your comments, and I will see you the next time I have a ridiculous rant. So till then, later everyone.